Welcome back. We're looking at Ubuntu 23.10. It's October, which is the season for distro releases, and I'm always curious to see the latest implementation of the Gnome Desktop, in this case version 45, on the Ubuntu desktop. In my mind, Ubuntu and Fedora are some of the leading desktops when it comes to GNOME in the open source world. And so the diverging approaches that Fedora and Ubuntu continue to take is an interesting case study for me. And it's also interesting in terms of which one achieves a better usable desktop. So thank you once again for joining me for another Linux distro review. It's been a little bit, and so if you aren't subscribed to the channel, we are looking to roll out some more content over the coming months, and I'm excited to step back into this world. It's been actually a little while since I was looking at all the different releases that are coming around. I've been on Linux Mint for a really long time and just really settled in on the Cinnamon desktop. And so now jumping back into Ubuntu is actually, I've probably skipped a good 2 or 3 releases, and I haven't looked at any of the other press or paraphernalia that's come out around this release. So a lot of the stuff that I'm reacting to is, and giving my thoughts on, is sort of relatively unfiltered and fairly fresh. GNOME 45, from my understanding, and again, I haven't sort of dived into the deep weeds with what has changed, is that it's a continual iteration and refinement upon some of the main paradigm shifts that happened back in the GNOME 40 release series. They continue to iterate on the activity space, and I think this activity indicator here is one of the most noticeable changes there. One thing that I will definitely say is that if you are comparing Ubuntu 23.10 to Ubuntu 22.04, the performance here is night and day different. What I really noticed booting up 23.10 for the first time is how fluid a lot of GNOME's animations are. We're pretty comfortable now in the world of Wayland as a display server, and it does default to Wayland. I say this because a desktop that I've been using, Cinnamon on Linux Mint, is still on X11, and I've got to admit that Wayland is definitely the future that we all want and the future that we all need in the Linux world. The animations are buttery smooth, the trackpad gestures map really, really well to just navigating the system, and it almost becomes critical now to be actually utilize those gestures to move back and forth between the desktop. Now, obviously, I'm on a mouse and keyboard right now, so it's not benefiting me in any way. But that is also to say that it's building on GNOME's already very strong keyboard-driven interface. What I like to see with what Ubuntu is doing is that they bring their own ideas and they double down on them. Now, that's for better and for worse in the open source world. A good example of this is the App Center, or the App Store, or what are they calling it? The App Center. So the App Center, from what I know, this is a complete rewrite of what used to be a very poor fork of GNOME software. They used to kind of ham-fist a snap package backend into the GNOME software, which was always just a bad idea. It was always clunky and slow. This one has been rewritten using Flutter, as has the installer since last I was using Ubuntu back in the 22.04 cycle. And what I got to say is that for an app that is newly deployed as an app center, a way to manage software on the Ubuntu desktop, this thing is actually pretty snappy. It's very smooth, it's got great animations, and I think for what most regular people want out of an app store, it is getting there in terms of features. I don't think it has the same level of feedback and reviews and stuff like that that GNOME software has, especially with the FlatHub enabled. But it is good to see that Canonical and the Ubuntu desktop gets to lean into their advantages with the fact that they champion the Snap package and they make it sing on their own desktop, which is kind of what you need to do if you want to make a standard like Snap viable long term. So it's great to see in some ways. In other ways, it is a little bit of a pain if you are already heavily invested in app images or Flathub, Flatpak, because there's no easy way to be able to add those things in on the back end. What is nice to see is, from what I understand, when you're searching through and you're looking for Debian packages, you can still choose between whether you want a snap package or a Debian package for most things. Some of the exceptions, of course, would be like Firefox, for example. There are no versions of Firefox that are available to install on Ubuntu without relying on third-party repositories. And decisions like that will continue to be made in the benefit of what Ubuntu sees fit to do with their product. At the end of the day, Ubuntu is a powerhouse in the server space and also a mover and shaker in the Internet of Things space. And so having one unified package manager that can be deployed in all of these different scenarios and be managed by system admins makes it a very attractive proposal for people who are working in this space. Does it suit the end user? While I have my gripes about snap packages in general, I'm not going to bog down too much in that topic right now, other than to say that Firefox actually and Thunderbird, both of which are snap packages, I believe, in their latest iterations, they both actually launched incredibly fast for me, even for the first time. I don't know whether Thunderbird is a snap or not, but judging by launch times, I'll show you the difference. Ready? This is a snap, still has a little beat to it. This is a native. With a app as heavy as LibreOffice, there is still a little bit of a wait time there, but it's not too bad. And honestly, it has improved drastically since Ubuntu 22.04. So, conclusions. If I were to be recommending this desktop to anyone, it's somebody who needs the commercial support and environment that Ubuntu offers in the workplace, because at the end of the day, Ubuntu and Canonical behind it offers advantages to Ubuntu that a lot of other Linux distributions wish they had. Things like live patching, Azure domain login support. There's a lot of bits and pieces that the Ubuntu ecosystem offers, and it's kind of cool to see Ubuntu double down on that ecosystem and offer something unique. It's also great to see that the desktop team continues to make strides in making Ubuntu better suit the needs of their client base. So for example, another tweak that they made that is irrespective of GNOME is more customizable tiling. So when we're all familiar with full screen left and right, but now you have quadrants and top half, bottom half, depending on how long you hover at the top or bottom. And when they lump all that with icons on the desktop, a panel that can act as a dock and that you can auto hide or intelligently hide, adjust the size for it, etc., etc. And then you also enjoy some of the multitasking, some of the really slick multitasking that GNOME is built in. You do get like a really potent, sleek, modern desktop. And I like to see that. Would I personally use Ubuntu? No, it's still really not my thing. I think I find myself reverting more and more to traditional, simple, kind of almost Spartan interfaces, but that might just be my age. In terms of what this desktop has to offer, I think for the right person who needs the benefits of the Ubuntu ecosystem, this continues to be a compelling offering. What I would really love to see is just how much they can dial this one in and up the performance in time for the LTS release in April next year. Well, let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.